very happy Memorial Day to everybody. Happy Monday night. We are Plug Talk Sports, episode 51. Brandon Hernandez, Jonka, Danny Torres here. Before we kick the show off and we get into our usual plugs of the week and shameless plugs, we just again want to say Happy Memorial Day. While we do our usual, let's have a barbecue, go in the pool, eat hot dogs and stuff like that. Let's just remember that as we get to enjoy that, we don't get this day off without the countless of lives and sacrifice that our servicemen and women of the United States military has given up for us. So thank you to all those who've paid the ultimate sacrifice. We wouldn't be able to get to do what we do if it wasn't for all of you men and women who have the courage and bravery to fight for our great country. But nonetheless, let's start with. You guys want to go with sad news or bad news or good news? What you guys want to go with today?
Let's get the sad news out of the way.
Let's go with let's go with bad news. Brandon, we'll start with you. What worst thing you saw in the last week?
Well, worst thing I saw in the last week, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be talking about this later on in the podcast. But of course, the shooting that happened out in Texas, basically 10 days after what we saw over there in Buffalo. And honestly, I think specifically staying in sports, while Steve Kerr said it to the press, I mean, they've had a bill out there in Congress for multiple days, about 2 years probably, and they still haven't done anything either for legislative power or whatever. But I mean, it's just unfortunate to see it, especially to see some sort of evil where like it's an 18-year-old or still no background to where you have to double check. But at the same time, there were signs that you can possibly jump on him before he does this horrific act. And for everyone here, and especially myself, we definitely are praying for the families, especially the community that's affected over there in Texas. But I mean, it's even hard to talk about, but probably the worst thing I saw so far.
Yeah, for sure. We'll get into that more as we start the show. Jonka, worst thing you saw?
Worst thing I saw. Obviously including what Brandon said about the shooting, but man, I gotta be honest. I'm probably like every Heat fan. If you ask him today, it's basically the loss from yesterday. But you gotta take it as it is. So even though Struce did step on the line.
Oh my gosh!
But I'm not gonna
We'll get into that later.
I'm not gonna cry about it. Whatever. So
we'll get into that later in the show. Worst thing for me is going to have to be in the Monaco Grand Prix. You guys know I'm a big Ferrari Carlos Sainz guy. They have the lead of this race, mind you, which was delayed an hour and 15 minutes because it was raining in Monaco. Ferrari and Charles Leclerc have the lead of this race almost the entire time. And they send both Ferrari, Sainz and Leclerc, into box for a tire change. But it should have been Leclerc that boxed first to get out before the Red Bulls came of Verstappen and Perez so he can keep the lead. Instead, it was Sainz who ended up in the box first. And you could hear Charles Leclerc on the headset saying, "Get out of the way, man. What are you doing? Get out of the way." Sainz box first, gets out, then Leclerc. And as he's coming out, as they're both coming out of the box, both Red Bulls pass by, and Ferrari loses the lead of the race. Now, Carlos Sainz does get to the second position. By the end of the day, Sergio Perez and Red Bull win the race, and Charles Leclerc, who had such a good opportunity, who started this race on pole position, it is his home race, he is from Monaco, could have won it, ended up in fourth behind his teammate and two Red Bulls, which right now he's in a tough battle in first place with Verstappen from Red Bull in the standings. So that really hurt him and could have cost him some points. So it's just again a Ferrari thing to do, just a horrible strategy that got ruined and cost them the race, and it was very sad. I was very upset. I'll start it off with best thing from last week plug of the week. If you guys have not seen it, Top Gun Maverick was absolutely insane. I'm telling you, I think it's better than the original. You know, it's very hard. It's very hard for sequels to be better than their originals, but I'm not gonna lie. This one is very, if not tops it, very close. And it's made $100 million in the opening weekend. It was such a good movie. Like, I'm gonna go see it again in theater. That's how good it was. It was just fantastic. And I really enjoyed it. So especially someone who loves planes, it was fantastic. It's all that you could have asked for from Tom Cruise.
Man, but I mean, I'm sorry, but I have to say this, man. You put that over Real Madrid's Champions League final, though. I mean, I see the flag in the background.
We're gonna get there. That's for the show. We're gonna get there. That alone too was just phenomenal.
Crazy.
We're gonna get there. But yeah, Top Gun Maverick. You guys haven't seen it, you have to see it. Like just the way that it was filmed and the way I learned how the actors actually flew these F-18 fighter jets. Like these actors had no idea of flying. Went through a vigorous 3-month program that Tom Cruise put them in to learn how to fly a Navy F-18. And then obviously you can't teach camera crew how to fly. So on top of that, the actors had their cameras in the cockpit in front of them. So when they were filming these scenes, they had to hit record on the camera, make sure the lighting was right and everything while they're doing all of these stunts and taking the G-force of the pressure. Were filming themselves at the same time. So it looked like it was a GoPro inside the cockpit the entire time, and it was just absolutely insane.
So you're trying to tell me the plot of the movie where Maverick is basically teaching these new these rookies and all that stuff. You're trying to tell me that's actually a real life plot, technically?
Technically, yeah. Technically, you're right. Technically, it really is, and I believe the studios already played 11. I think it was 11. Yeah, 11,000 an hour to the Navy to be able to use these aircrafts. So Tom Cruise told, "Hey, we need to film this. Excuse my language. We need to film this shit in a hurry because we're wasting 11,000 an hour to be able to get these takes down on these aircrafts." And it was approved to be able to do this. It was approved by the Pentagon. So that's how important it was to be able to use these aircrafts for the movie. But it was great, man. Yeah, man. Janka, best thing you saw?
Best thing I saw would have to be, I guess, seeing Beckham at work on Saturday, and then us winning later that night. So I was actually kind of hyped. Like, hey, we moved up to 7th place, so we're out of the double digits now.
On the way back.
That's cool. That was cool. Brandon, best thing you saw? I know what this is gonna be.
No, yeah, I think everyone knows here. But before I go into that, John, can I tell you right now? I gotta go over there and get a sandwich real quick.
Dude,
next time in Miami, I gotta visit, man. If David Beckham's coming in, everybody, man, I gotta see the world famous, man. World famous.
The guy just walks in, just so chill and so like normal as a person. You won't even feel his presence.
Yeah, but I mean, if you guys don't know yet from watching this panel for the past couple episodes, I am a Celtic fan, and the 12-year curse is finally over. From the heartbreak of 2012, LeBron, and of course, from what we saw in 2018, 2017. I mean, this one specifically, I saw an article about this before Game 7. Basically, you can say that this was for Paul Pierce, it was for KG, Isaiah Thomas, Avery Bradley, Amir Johnson, the Jared Sullinger years, and the Kelly Olynyk Game 7 against the Wizard years. But in reality, this was probably the biggest one for me, to see Al Horford first time in a finals, and I got also to mention for a South Floridian, the first ever person from the Dominican Republic to be in the NBA Finals. So the 12-year curse is broken. Every single player that I respect from the Celtics team, especially Marcus Smart for 8 seasons in this league, has been phenomenal. And I mean, everyone on that roster well deserves of it. And I just love this Celtic team. Do I put them top? I mean, depends what they do in the finals, but really proud of the guys. Really proud of the guys.
We're gonna get into that, and you probably will hate me, but we're gonna get into that. So again, let's start off the show now with our first topic, and something Brandon mentioned earlier, and again, is a serious topic. In the past week, in Uvalde, Texas, there was another devastating mass shooting in an elementary school. 21 people died. I believe it was 19 children, 2 teachers. There's no words at this point, man. Like, the day after, I felt very guilty. While we're out here going on our day-to-day things, our day-to-day life, and I just stopped for a moment, and I was like, this is not right that this is becoming such a normal thing that we become numb to it, that we're becoming numb to these type of situations. Like, oh yeah, another shooting, okay, move on the next day. Something needs to happen. Regardless, this is not a Republican issue, at least in my opinion. This is not a Republican issue, it's not a Democrat issue. Like, both sides need to figure something out, because it's getting ridiculous, it's getting out of hand. And I don't understand. I said earlier in the week that I remember my days as a kid going to elementary school. Like, that was some of the best times, like going to school. Yeah, you were learning. I mean, obviously, as you get older, you're like, oh god, school. But you remember learning. You remember drawing. The best part of the day was either lunch or recess with your friends, and like, you had no care in the world. Kids nowadays don't have that issue, and especially parents as well. They need to go to school with this such anxiety that some lunatic is going to come into their school and start killing them all. I was even thinking to myself at a certain point, and especially as a Christian, I know it's not what God wants, but I started thinking, do I even, like, when I get older, do I even want to have a kid in this type of world where kids are having to practice, mass shooting drills at school? Not even fire alarm drills anymore, mass shooting drills, because of these sort of situations. But something needs to be done, because honestly, how many more people, especially children, this was another Sandy Hook, how many more children need to die, or people need to die in this country for something to get done? I'm not against guns, I'm not against banning guns, but at least, and this is bold here, but at least in my opinion, hunting, if you go hunting, okay, a hunting type of gun, that's fine. But and I get the people that say, oh, look what's happening in Ukraine. If they didn't have weapons, they wouldn't be able to defend themselves as citizens. I get that, but at the same time, like, you think to yourself, you see people in these houses that have military grade style weapons, and you think to yourself, why the hell do you need, if you're trying to defend your home, or even if you go hunting, why do you need a military style weapon? That's only made for one thing and one thing only, that's war, and it is to kill people, and to kill people fast. I never say never, because you never know what will happen in this world, but I think that the United States military is very competent in being able to defend our country if something were to happen. I don't think it would come to a point where citizens would need to be out in the streets fighting for their own lives in their own country. I think the United States military is very competent of defending this country, and all the money and software and technology goes into it. So it just leaves me just baffled of, like, why. And I've seen it from people that have these sort of weapons in their houses, and it's very accessible to people in the house. And then we think about, you know, yes, there is a gun issue, but also there is a mental health issue. And you guys know, people on this panel have known that I'm a very big advocate about mental health. Um, I think maybe it's our culture because I've talked to and Brandon probably as well, being at UF and having been in FIU as well. You meet all these athletes and people in the department from all over, from different parts of the country or from different countries as well. And I'll never forget one of the volleyball players. I won't name them obviously, but one of the volleyball players at FIU. She's from Sweden, um, and she tells me, what's he what like I don't. She was like, I don't get it. Like in Europe or whatever, like it's a very family-oriented culture and stuff like that. Here in the United States, like once you turn 18, it's like, all right, get out of the house. You're on your own. And then these kids end up struggling, with all these problems by themselves, and then they have no help. And then, of course, they end up getting a gun and doing some sort of act like this. So there needs to be some sort of gun control, and there needs to be some sort of mental health, more money poured into the mental health sector. But that's my opinion on it. Um, it's just it's sad, for these families. So whether Brandon and Jonka, you guys want to go next? You guys have a floor.
Well, because I know I already started this podcast saying, of course, our hearts are out there to the community out there in Texas, and as well, of course, the nation from Buffalo, Texas, and what we've seen throughout this entire year. But in reality, just echoing what Daniel said, obviously, it's like we can't be numb from this, right? From what I said before, they already have stuff in legislation that needs to be looked at, either that because of politicians, fighting for legislative power, or just in general, they just feel that, they don't want to be part of the controversy. No matter what it is, this is Americans trying to save Americans. This isn't a race, religious, or any type of ethical type of standpoint you need to have. This is Americans saving Americans. And of course, again, I'm not going to say exactly, politically if I agree or not with the banning of guns. In reality, the conversation should be, what can we do to regulate guns where it goes to the right hands? Because the moment you say something like that, at least introduce it to a conversation, there's a lot of people on the other side of saying, oh, they're trying to take guns away, and this is the first, breaking stone chipping away. And then the other side is saying that, oh, no, we're just trying to, see some sort of solution. In reality, you just need these conversations to go through. Again, this was another 18-year-old kid doing this, and it's also, unfortunately, from what it seems to be almost a theme where it's like these kids out of high school or just graduating high school or just like a young age of like low 20s or right there in their teens where they're taking their lives to a point where they're making a decision that they're going to regret for the rest of their lives and affecting families, communities, and unfortunately that community in Texas was lost all those young children as well as those teachers. But of course, as a fellow American, as all of us here on this panel, we always hope for the best, that we always persevere and keep going forward. But in reality, I mean, the conversation has to start, if not now, then when. And speaking of which, before I take it out to Jonka, I was actually at the Heat game, for Game 5. And the cool thing that they did actually after the national anthem and the moment of silence, they actually put out the numbers and the contact information to talk to your senators or congresswomen or congressmen, to be in communications. And that's again starting the conversation. You got to make sure put your representatives right there in the middle of everything because that's their job to represent the community. So for those in South Florida and across the world, wherever you're listening to on Twitch or on the panel, just know that hey, your representatives, they need to be working for you, and they should. They should.
Amen, brother. I you couldn't have put it better. Well said. Jonka?
Prayers out to all the parents and family members that have to deal with this. It sucks having to lose somebody. Man, I'm like, whenever I see one of these events happen, it's kind of it hits, and then I always tell myself like, what's going on with the legislation that's passing? Like, and then I notice it's like because the Democrat side and Republican side, they can never come to an agreement because they're always bickering, and one side hates the other.
Yeah.
They can never work it out, and so I guess like, and then it just leaves the legislation in like the trenches. Like you can't pick it out because no man can ever get to the middle, and so it's like, and then you start thinking about ways you can try to solve the problem. You probably, I guess, like make schools with, I don't know, metal detecting so you can, if there's any guns. But the thing is like, and then you have to like check the students' backpacks, invading their privacies, and so it gets. And then it's like parents are like, oh, I don't want my kid walking into like this kind of environment. Like they have to like everywhere they go, they're like looked at like a suspect. And it's like it doesn't feel like school anymore. It just feels like a prison.
Yeah.
And then Daniel was talking about a student from FIU that's from Sweden. I think the values, I don't know, I don't personally know the numbers. I don't know what it is, but she said there was a more about family values.
Yeah, Europe is more of a you grow up as a family compared to here 18. You're just like, all right, you're on your own.
Yeah, I think that when you're 18, and I think a lot of people in the U.S., maybe not Latinos or
Like
Asian,
pure American.
like pure Americans, they enforce that so much.
Yeah.
That is just when, and how hard it is to live it out there if you don't have a decent job.
Yeah.
Or education, you just basically kicked out to the curb. And a lot of soldiers, they come back and they can't even find jobs because they don't get any benefits. Yeah, exactly. And so I think they're, after coming back and no benefits, it's like, imagine you're just like pushed to the limit, and then it's like, you know what? It's like, and then some people with mental health issues, they're gonna take that to the heart. It's like, you know what? F these people. I'm gonna show them what I can do with my training because that's what they were trained to do.
Well, hey, let me tell you, that's a whole other conversation in itself with a lot of veterans that come back and don't get help. And a lot of them either carry out these sort of acts or they commit suicide and they take their own life because they don't get the help that they need.
Exactly. And then with the 18, when you turn 18, it's like the independence thing. Everybody now, supposedly after 18, you have to be independent. I don't agree with that. You're not independent, buddy. Like you just turned 18. What, you haven't had independence since you were 17, like a day ago. So you can't really force. That's the thing. I guess there's just too much pressure on kids that just like, oh 18, oh yes, I can smoke, I can buy stuff,
Think about it though. You can't drink till you're 21, but you can buy a military grade rifle at 18.
I feel like the age should be also raised to, not even 21, maybe like 25 or something like that, or enough to where you have like a, I guess like I don't know how, like an actual living, like you have like a family, you have a job, you have your own place, not like you just like, okay, yeah, I'm a college student, I go to class, I come back, I eat and repeat the same thing over again. Like an actual person that like does his own thing, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what was I gonna say? When also it's like, for the Constitution, obviously you have the right to bear arms, and because of I forget what's it called, tyrannical government, so you can go counter them.
Yeah.
So if you, let's say, Joe Biden was saying, I don't want to get too political, but he said he wants to ban AR-15 or assault weapons. So this is hypothetical. If a tyrannical government does show up, and assault weapons are banned before they show up, what would Americans and everybody living here have to use against that tyrannical government if you just have, like, let's say, pistols? Pistols are not going to be assault weapons in any day of the week. We've seen that in Call of Duty, Apex. It's not going to work out. So I guess people that know about guns and know how it's like, it's a little bit swayed based on the power of the weapon. I think that's why they have these weapons just in case. But I agree. There's some people that I hate that they abuse that system. I say, oh, I can give them because I'm a normal person. I haven't done anything. Oh, I'm gonna say, oh, I want to use it for my house to protect my house. But then they have other intentions.
Yeah.
So it's like that system has to be fixed a little bit. But
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna say. I don't want to get too into it, but
again, we're thinking about this community, and Brandon said it best with contacting your congresswoman or congressman to start the conversation, and we hope that this situation can get resolved. And again, just thinking about those people in that community, and we're going to move forward to talk sports. Obviously, the issue is much bigger than sports, but here we are, NBA Finals. Boston Celtics will be facing the Golden State Warriors starting on Thursday. I'll start it off. Brandon, this is not personal. I know you're going to hate me. I know I've been thinking about it all afternoon. I'm like, Brandon's going to hate me tonight. But I'm going to say it. And here's my opinion. First off, congratulations to the Boston Celtics on winning the Eastern Conference and heading to the NBA Finals for, I believe, it was 22nd, right? Appearance in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, 2010.
Yeah, and since 2010. So congratulations to them. Of course, Ime Udoka was first year's head coach heading to the NBA Finals. Here's where my opinion starts. This series, I think I knew already by Game 5 that whoever came out of this series is not going to win the finals. Just because I think the Miami Heat, and this is very frustrating, I think that the Miami Heat out of this series deserve some respect for pushing Boston all the way to 7. And needless to say, the reason why I'm say it right now, I'm taking the Warriors in 5 games over the Celtics is because if you blow a 13-point lead with almost 3 minutes left in the game and almost didn't make the finals, almost did not make it. The Warriors are a team that when they're down 22 and in 2 minutes, they can change and flip that script in an instance. So if you struggled with that against the Miami Heat, there's no way you're making it out alive against the Golden State Warriors in that sort of situation. My other opinion is I don't think Jason Tatum deserved the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Obviously, they always award it to the winning team. I understand that. But I think we know that the best player in this series entirely was Jimmy Butler, who I think, as sad as it was today for Miami Heat fans, I saw a lot of love and people being grateful for Jimmy Butler. To think what he did last night, did not sit down not 1 minute of this game, it is incredible. Do you know the amount of effort and pressure and physicality you have to put onto your body to play this entire game? It is, there wouldn't be a Game 7. The Heat wouldn't be where they were at if it was not for Jimmy Butler. His final shot, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Because if you're a Heat fan, this is your guy who's given you to a Game 7 to be able to compete to the last 16 seconds of this game. The reason why you're in this to be able to compete in that final 16 seconds is because of Jimmy Butler. And the way he had 18 points in the second quarter. Celtics should have been up 40 at halftime. But Jimmy Butler came alive in that second quarter and was able to close the gap. So if he's shooting the ball like that and putting up points like that, you have to let him shoot it. And then respect Al Horford, because he's got the ball and he's got a decision to make. He's got Victor Oladipo on the left, or he's got Max Strus coming from right behind him on the right side. And then he's got Al Horford in front of him. Now people are saying, oh, he could have gone to the bucket, maybe tied this game up, or maybe even get an and one and taken the lead that way. And he's a very clutch free throw shooter. But I think Jimmy respected Al Horford and said, two things went through Jimmy's mind. This is Al Horford. There's a good possibility that if I go to the bucket, I could get my shot blocked. If it was Williams, not Robert Williams, we're talking about the other Williams, maybe he would have driven it to the basket. Maybe. It was a better opportunity than having Al Horford. So his thinking was, I like my chances, I'm going to shoot it, I'm going to go for the kill, and I'm going to see if we get the lead. Now, he also said to himself, I will say, I'm tired as shit. I've played the entire game. Ain't no way in hell I'm going to overtime. If we're going to end this, we're going to do it right now. So I have no problem with Jimmy Butler taking that shot. I'm not mad at him. I think that the Heat need to take a look this offseason at what they need to do, because as Janka was telling me, this Sirius Long came up with a nickname for him. He called him Bam Bam Bitch. Because although he did some things yesterday, you are more physically stronger than Al Horford. And I said all this time in my couch, for the love of God, drive the ball into the basket. If freaking Derek White could take it to the basket and draw a foul, Bam Adebayo, so can you. So for the love of God, drive the ball to the basket. But every time he got the ball and he turned around and looked at the basket, it was like the Looney Tunes looking at the Monstars. He would look up and be like, oh, it's Al Horford, and then pass the ball somewhere, or it would spend half of the shot clock just holding on to the basketball, not doing anything. It was extremely frustrating. That's one thing. Tyler Hero, he tried to give it a go. He had a growing injury. He was a 6th man of the year. He was shooting 40% from three all season long. Did nothing, and he was taken out of the game. There was other people. Duncan Robinson was a liability. That's why he even stepped into the game. We knew that. Dwayne Dedmon, another liability. Another reason why he didn't see minutes in the game. And then I don't even know what the hell happened to Markieff Morris. Why the hell he wasn't even a factor. At least give him a chance. I think he could have done something defensively at least. He wasn't even a factor. Then you got Udonis Haslem, which now is a joke because this guy called out Draymond Green. Now he's not in the finals, and you saw him last night. I love UD, Miami legend. Always will be. His jersey will be in the rafters. You saw him going down the tunnel all frustrated like he played all 48 minutes. They need to find somebody, and me and Janka were talking about it last night. I would not mind trading Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, and throw someone in there for Joel Embiid. Janka said Bam Adebayo. I personally don't know how I feel about that. I personally would want Embiid and throw Adebayo as Embiid's backup. That's what Janka said. I said, I don't know how I feel about you throwing Adebayo in that trade. I don't know. But we'll leave it at that. But definitely, I think Jimmy Butler should have been conference finals MVP. And then the final thing I have to say, I've never seen this happen before. When you have a three-point shot from Max Strus in the second quarter, and you're about 3 minutes into the third quarter already, and they magically say, oh yeah, we're taking that shot out. I don't get it. I've never seen that before. I've never seen it before happen. And I've looked at that picture thousands of times. Yes, it was close. But it does in the picture. I don't see that his heel was down. It was not down. From I've seen the picture 1,000 times. And then you look at the NBA report, and the NBA report said we wanted to see if it was a 2 or a 3. He wasn't even close to it being a 2-point shot. So what are you talking about? It could have affected the game at this point. I mean, you can't complain about it, but at this point, it could have been a 1-point game when Jimmy took that shot. If you throw in the factor of the 3-point shot, and then you go back, there was I believe there was a play where Tatum or I think Jaylen Brown might have stepped in the bounce or traveled and kicked it out to Marcus Smart, who drilled a 3.
Yeah.
Why is that not reviewable? If Strus stepped out of bounds, how's that not reviewable? Well, I don't understand that, and I do want to say that Scott Foster and the Celtics are a perfect pairing because the Celtics are now 12-0. 12-0 with Scott Foster as the referee.
Yeah, I can't even believe it, to be honest with you, man. The extender in a Game 7.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. But,
that's all I got to say about that. I say Warriors in 5.
Yeah, but of course, I mean, going straight to, from the officiating of this series, I mean, that Game 7, absolute chaos, right? Apparently afterwards, when they double-checked on the officiating for that Game 7, they showed that the only miss that they made in the final minutes was a travel from Kyle Lowry that wasn't called, and then apparently Bam Adebayo stepped on the baseline for some play, I don't remember when.
Yeah.
So the officiating itself, yeah, sure, Scott Foster, one of the most efficient in the NBA. But the extender in Game 7, I thought we were going to go to 8 games after that, to be honest with you. And then the Max Strus stuff, I mean, obviously, if you ask me how they usually would do it, you wait till a timeout or a foul is called, you go back to the VR, and then you double-check everything. But, of course, they're in Secaucus in New Jersey, headquarters for the NBA. 4 minutes, this is, of course, a Game 7 to determine. And I guess they were mentioning basically on the right side of the foot, more inner, because the heel on the backside was up. However, when you go more towards the inside of the sole, it was on that white line out there on the sideline. But of course, that would be forever up for debate. Excuse my language. But that'll be always up for debate. And of course, I mean, I hate to say this because obviously it's too soon for the off season. But I was on Twitter last night, as I usually am. As Haslam getting killed in the court retweets and everything. And there's a bunch of guys who are Miami fans talking about who would you think would be most likely for the Heat, or who do you think would be, liable for the Miami to get rid of for a big trade? And they're giving the 4 options of Donovan Mitchell, Bradley Beal, Joel Embiid for obvious reasons, and Damian Lillard. And I actually said this on a panel earlier today on one of my other close friends from FIU, but from the looks of it, Bradley Beal is probably going to be the highest paid NBA player actively after Washington gives him that 5-year, $200+ million deal, which is crazy as it is.
That's just chasing money right there.
Yeah, Joel Embiid, if you're going to get rid of Joel Embiid, Philadelphia might as well get rid of the whole roster, right? Because there's no reason that they'll even be back in the playoffs without Joel. And then, I mean, Donovan Mitchell, personally, I wouldn't even touch him with a 2-inch stick. Honestly, I think that he does everything in Utah because he's getting the minutes. And at the same time, it's not like he's elevated Utah to another status where, like, hey, this kid's going crazy in the postseason. Donovan Mitchell hasn't shown anything in the postseason. The way that Eric Spoelstra does his offense, especially with a 2-2-1 defensive zone or, like, press-on man off screens, I don't think Donovan fits in that defensively. But the one thing that I feel like is an actual possibility, maybe even the main goal for Pat Riley coming into this offseason, the Portland Trailblazers are getting guys out of the front office and replacing them more with new GMs from either that be ESPN or some other part of the NBA world. I mean, we're looking at a full-blown rebuild right now in Portland. The Portland Trailblazers getting rid of CJ McCollum is not going to be the only trade they'll make in the next few years, let alone the next few days. From what I expect, Damian Lillard right now could potentially be on the market for a couple of draft picks and maybe even a young star. Possibly Miami wants to, give him on the Tyler Hero project, bring in Doug Robinson and Kyle Lowry with a couple of picks, and give it all the way to Portland and say that, hey, Damian Lillard, this is your best chance at a chip right now. That's a real possibility. I like that better than the idea of Joel Embiid being just fleeced away from Philadelphia, because obviously Morrissey's not going to get rid of an MVP caliber center.
You know, sorry to cut you off, but it came to my mind. I agree with that. I agree with that trade. I'm okay with it. I think if you keep Adebayo and you throw Damian Lillard in there, I think would be more efficient than what we have right now, because I was not impressed with Kyle Lowry at all.
Yeah, at all. And honestly, I said this before to a bunch of friends when you guys got Kyle. I thought, hey, that's a perfect guy for the postseason because he's going to be giving you consistency on the offensive side. Yeah. He didn't do anything in the postseason. More or less, I remember people were like, oh, Kyle Lowry's back, the quarterback. You guys are finished. Man, he got 6 points in average against Philadelphia. What is he going to do against Marcus Smart? But also, you know, because I know that Jonka has a lot to say about this Miami Heat team and everything. I'm just going to finish it off as just saying, you know, if you guys aren't Celtic fans or somebody's watching that's not a Celtic fan that's not known the journey of this Boston team, you know, as the 11th seed in the East in January, they come up getting a blowout win against the Phoenix Suns, I believe on the 29th of January. Jaylen Brown's, you know, tweeting the energy's about to shift, and it did. We basically lost, 12 games in the last 4 months. And throughout this entire postseason, we've been missing a starter here and there. And we didn't have a healthy roster until, I think, like, Game 5 or Game 6 of this series, where Robert Williams had to be going with an inflated knee. So the Celtics, they battle it out. There's a young cast of guys. You know, first-team NBA, Jason Tatum. Obviously, you know, this is probably another discussion, but I think Joel Embiid should have replaced him for first-team NBA. But then again, go by position. Marcus Smart, Defensive Player of the Year for good terms. Robert Williams had a young career out of Texas Tech. It's a second-team all-defensive. And it's like, I mean, the Celtics are just on a roll. They're just on a roll. They talk about the future all the time, but I feel like the future is right now. So, really proud of this Celtics team. And as I said before, you know, the only team to beat the Celtics are the Celtics. I felt like, you know, we had this game in the bag, and in the last few minutes, it's like, my goodness, we get a basket. Holy. I mean, I don't mean to curse or anything like that, almost did, but Max Strus 3, and then you got Jimmy Butler. And not gonna lie to you, I was sweating like crazy when he pulled up for that shot.
I'm
pulled up for that shot.
I was thinking of you because I saw. I'm sure you're familiar with him, Taylor Twellman, who big Boston guy. I mean, he's New England Revolution Hall of Fame. He's a big Celtic fan as well, being from that area. He tweeted when the Heat started coming back into this game with like 40 seconds left. He tweets, "Do the Celtics want to go to the finals?"
It feels like that every year, man. It feels like that every year. But yeah, I mean, and then for the Warriors series coming over the Celtics, you know, I really do believe that the Warriors might be finishing this series. However, again, you know, the Celtics are favorites coming into this series. I feel like defensively they have a better chance against this Warriors team who's been phenomenal with Andrew Wiggins. But again, I think this Warriors has this series. The only question is, will it even get to a 7 games? I think that either if Celtics win or Warriors win, it will have to be a Game 6. I think this goes at least 6 games either way. But it should be a fun series. I'm really curious about exactly what the defense is going to look like. But, I mean, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. I don't even have a dog in that one.
Jonka, here we go. Here we go. Getting ready.
Warm up.
Let me start stretching the truth bombs.
Here we go.
Okay. I got something to say.
I agree with you, Brandon. I it's a respectable opinion. I agree with you.
Okay, I got something to say. When he brought the score down to 2, right? It was like a 20-point thing, and then we brought it down to 2. I was like, hey, let's go, bro. Let's go. We're hyped. We're on a roll right now. We brought it down to 2. Okay. Then all of a sudden, Boston shoots a 3. They hit another 3. Then a 2. Then an 1. And then like, bro, hello? When is something gonna happen? Hello? I see another one, and another one, and and from 2 to 13 in a swing.
Yeah.
And that what I have a problem with. And no, I don't have more problems. This is not the only problem. But why is it that Spolstra calls a timeout when we're down 13? Why at the moment that you go to 13 is when you call timeout? Why not when they're at 6 or 7 or even 8? No, it has to be when we're in double digits is when he calls timeout. That is the worst thing I've ever seen. Okay, in second, in the fourth quarter, we started off missing like 11 or 12 field goals. Buddy, that is when you call timeout. You tell them this is when you tell your guys this is do or die, do or die. I don't know what the f you guys are doing, but stop shooting threes. It is that going in. Go for twos, get a foul. Most of the Boston's best players are in foul trouble. Al Horford with 4, Marcus Moore had 3, I think Tatum had 3, Jalen Brown had 3. Everybody was in foul trouble. So
Yeah.
I don't know what they were doing shooting these threes. Just drive it in. If you get fouled, you get fouled. You get blocked, you get blocked. So what? But at least you're taking a shot that you could get them in foul trouble and let them sit down, so you have the ability to come back. No, I guess the coaching staff is oblivious to that information. Okay, second, Bam, what the hell were you doing? What? I hope you're seeing this. Like you were a non-factor in this entire series. Oh, but all of a sudden you think you score 18, 20 points in the final game, but guess what? You didn't do shit because Robert Williams is cooking your ass. Derek White, 6 foot, whatever the hell he is, was going right over you, making floaters and dunking and shooting threes. And for some reason, you're 20 feet away from the 3-point line, outside on the other side of the half. They give you the ball and you start passing it out, bro. Entra like no, bro. My God, you're 7 foot. You're like almost 200 pounds. Oh, get in there, bro. You're not afraid of Embiid, but you're afraid of Robert Williams and Al Horford. I don't understand it. Okay, next, Tyler Hero. I get you're injured, but if you're gonna be injured and say you're gonna come and play in the game, you get entered into the game, and all you do is run around in circles and not take a shot. No, I'm sorry. You deserve to be traded. Duncan Robinson, what the hell are you? What are you? Some kind of turtle? Because he did nothing. I don't know. He was like an enigma of our imagination, like the box from SpongeBob. Like he did absolutely baloney cheese, whatever the hell you could call it. He would shoot, and miss. More than I can count on fingers times 100 infinity and beyond from Buzz Lightyear. Let me just say something. Doug Robinson, I don't know what you do in the offseason, but even last season, we could tell that you can't play defense. And you come into this season and you still can't play defense, which shows that he doesn't want to improve. He thinks that just on shooting alone, you can be something in the no.
But Jonka, it came to a point where like, dude, Duncan Robinson, and I believe it was game 5, I believe, it came to a point where every time that guy touched the basketball, he was just jacking up shot. I'm like, what are you doing?
It's a do or die by the three. Is that mentality?
And next, Kyle Lowry, buddy, retire. I don't want to see you anymore. I don't want to see you anymore. You're 5'1", bro. You can't defend. You can hardly shoot.
Doing this.
Like, buddy, I said it. Come on. Like, what are you doing? Every time you try to, I saw him I think on 3 straight possessions, him guarding Robert Williams. Bro, if I was Spoelstra, I understand what Spoelstra has to go through now, because that was stupid, bro. Wait, this is why I want Spoelstra to make some big bucks now. Now I feel bad for him. When a 5-foot point guard guarding a 7-foot monster. Gee, no, that's not a mismatch. Oh my
No,
God.
please address the second foul that he picked up.
Oh yeah.
What was
Oh,
that?
listen, I nearly broke my phone. I nearly broke my phone because I stood up so quick and almost broke the chair too. Because you pick up a stupid foul to start the game, and then all of a sudden he just fouls the dude. Fouls him for one reason. I don't know what. And picks up a second foul. Now he has to sit his ass down for the majority of the first half. Hello?
No, I don't.
Intelligence? Where'd you go? Did you go back to Toronto? I don't get it. My God, smoking Maple Leafs? I don't get it. Listen.
In that riding too.
If I were to do something, no, and last one before I even say my pick for the finals. I'm telling you right now, this is PSA. If Udonis Haslem is not removed from the team or told you will not be allowed on the team, back on the team on a roster spot, not a coaching spot. You can be a coach all you want. If he is allowed back on the team on a roster spot, I swear to my grave, I will not watch a Heat game ever again. I swear to Jesus, I will not watch a Heat game again. I will not spend money on them. I will not spend my time watching and stressing over their stupid games, not chucking up threes all game and not making them. He takes up a roster spot, and all of a sudden he assumes all responsibility, but yet he doesn't play. I'm gonna repeat it again. He takes up a roster spot, which a rookie can play, a person that can play, and that would want to play, but all of a sudden he just doesn't want to play. He has experience, right? He has championship pedigree, but yet he doesn't want to play. He's useless. Oh, walks out. Oh, crying like if he did something. You didn't do shit. Oh, I motivate the players. You don't motivate shit. You motivate trash. That's what you do.
Yeah.
The only person that did anything was Jimmy Butler, and he was on his last fucking knees.
I will say though, I saw a funny tweet before you say your prediction, and it made me think of Brandon too. One of the reasons why the Heat were able to come back into that game was Marcus Smart started shooting all these threes that he kept missing. And I believe it was Nick Wright that tweeted, "Yo, Marcus, I get it. You've hit some of these threes before, but you're not Klay Thompson."
Oh my gosh, man! I know you're reminding me.
Jaka,
Now,
what's your pick, man?
Now, the Boston Celtics in the series with the Heat, the majority of the games they didn't shoot that well. I will say that they had like one or two games that they shot like really well, which were the blowouts. But the reason that they were blowouts, I mean, also the Heat didn't shoot that well. But that's on the Heat. But with the Warriors can shoot bad. Like what Daniel was saying, in any moment, in any quarter, Steph can get hot, Clay, Jordan Poole, Kuminga, Andrew Wiggins gets hot too. Bro, I'm telling you right now, if Boston shoots the way they shot in the series with Miami, it's going to be the most craziest series ever. I'm going to tell you right now. I can see this going 5 or 4, bro. I can see going 5 or 4 because of how well the Warriors have been shooting it and how well they can shoot it. And even though Boston does shoot it well sometimes, but not as well as them.
Well,
and I want to see Steph Curry be the MVP finally.
No, yeah. I mean, of course. I mean, I really do, respect the prediction as a good prediction. But I mean, as I said before, the only team that can beat the Celtics right now are the Celtics, and I hate repeating myself, but in reality, if you don't give up those turnovers, if you keep on going on, I mean, majority of the games, the Miami Heat were held down to below 100 points. So in reality, the Celtics defense, as I said before, is going to be really interesting what they do against Steve Kerr's off-ball type of offense that he does over there in Golden State. However, mind you, the Boston Celtics are the only team throughout the entire Steve Kerr era in Golden State that has a winning record against the Golden State Warriors. So in reality, if there's going to be a team that beat Golden State in the finals, why not Boston?
I agree with you. I agree with you that I think with the way that we saw in this series, Boston was better matched up against Golden State. I think Boston gives Golden State more competition, but and I respect Boston defensively. The reason for my prediction is with the way Boston played the series, and also I think that Golden State has too many weapons right now that have gotten hot. in the postseason. That's the reason behind my prediction.
No, yeah, exactly. But before we go any further, though, I have to say this because from what Jonka said with Bam Adebayo, I'm pretty sure a lot of Heat fans are saying this right now for Bam, especially his development. I mean, I've been saying this since last year when I saw, especially as a non-Heat fan, non-Heat lifer, seeing Bam Adebayo in that suit against Milwaukee, and especially throughout this entire postseason and in this series. I mean, you see little pieces here and there where he's developing a one-on-one type of game in the low post. But he needs to be anticipating that that's how the game is going to go to him. He has to understand that, hey, this isolation stuff I have to do right there in the front court, I got to be there for my team. So in reality, I know a lot of Heat fans are looking at this game and looking at this series and saying that, this made up the season. But don't forget, Bam Adebayo is still growing. I mean, the kid's like, what, 24 years old, 20 something? I mean, it could always be worse. You can always get Kyle Kuzma or Ben Simmons. You know what I mean? Bam Adebayo is at least showing up to play. I mean, for those people that are looking at Bam Adebayo saying that he's trade collateral, right now he's the second best player on that Heat roster.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even want to touch him.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even want to give him anyway because he still has a lot of play.
I will say that I was agreeing with what you guys said about Damian Lillard. I think I would like to get Damian Lillard, but in a year, I think after the next season, Embiid is a free agent, unrestricted, so he can choose wherever he wants to go. And
Yeah.
seeing from the tweets from recent 24 hours ago, hey, imagine Jimmy, Lillard, Embiid with I guess we're gonna have to trade Hero anyways, but I guess Struce and maybe Bam at the 4, I guess.
But who do you?
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah, but let me tell you though, if Joel Embiid does come to Miami, either trade or sign trade or whatever it is, and I'm not comparing the two, but it'll be probably one of the biggest signings since Shaquille O'Neal 06-05.
Yeah, I agree.
Because that would be the huge presence in the big. Huge presence.
I agree. But I can, you know what? I can really see both scenarios happening.
I'm saying. And now that a lot of people are leaving a lot of states because of the taxes and stuff, and they want to come down to South Florida.
Well, either that or Orlando.
Let's finish the show off with one final topic that happened over the past weekend in UEFA Champions League final, which, by the way, my Real Madrid, for the 14th time, champions of Europe, made it look. It was a tight game, but they almost made it look easy. I think with English teams, they just and then they just get tired in the second half, and then that's when they take over. But this is not what we're going to talk about. What we're going to talk about is what happened. And I'm still saying to myself, and most people are still saying to themselves, what the hell happened? This match, if you were in the East Coast, of course, was supposed to start at 3 p.m. This match started at 3:40 because it was delayed because, as UEFA stated it, fans were having trouble getting in. And it wasn't Real Madrid fans. The Real Madrid end was full and ready to go. It was the Liverpool end. Now, the problem was, the real problem, which one? That statement by UEFA offended a lot of people because if you know the Liverpool community and the football club, I believe it was in '96, there was something called the Hillsborough tragedy, where a lot of Liverpool fans were being forced through one single turnstile into one stand, and the stand ultimately collapsed. And I believe 96 people died. So for them, and the same statement happened was, fans being late to the game. So for them to say that again and not acknowledging that sort of issue from before was a little bit touchy for Liverpool fans. There was a lot of people saying there were fake tickets that were sold, which confused the people at the gates. They closed off gates, which prompted people to start jumping the fence because obviously there was people mixed up in all that crowd that actually did have real tickets, which you think about it, people just say, "Oh man, look at these people, how they're goons, and how unorderly to be jumping fences." Hello, if I paid thousands of dollars to go to the UEFA Champions League final, and they're not letting me in because of all this sort of commotion, you bet my ass I'm jumping the fence. I got a real ticket. I'm not missing. I paid hotel, paid flight, I paid ticket for the game. I'm jumping the fence. I'm not missing this game. And then you think about it. This is the UEFA Champions League final. This is probably the biggest final after the World Cup final. Like this, they made it sound like this was a CONCACAF, Gold Cup event. Like, hello, this is UEFA. It was poorly managed, but I don't put fully blame on UEFA. I put partial blame on UEFA, and then I put partial blame on the French authorities for not having proper security, not having the full security there to be able to deal with all this issue. And mind you, with all that going on, think about it. Just think about it. Something a lot worse could have happened. Something a lot worse could have happened. And that wasn't only it. Then they go on with Camila Cabello doing her the pregame show, which was just very awkward because you have like half of Liverpool's side empty and missing, a full Real Madrid side. People were upset about this going on, and the match was delayed. It made it awkward, which she complained about on Twitter because while her performance, people were booing because they were upset that the situation was happening. And she was like, "How rude!" She tweeted out on Twitter. She was like, "How rude!" And I'm like, people just wanted to see the game at this point. People were nervous. They wanted to see if the team was going to win or not. And they delayed it for 40 minutes. So that's another issue. And then the last issue was after the match. People were leaving the stadium. There was organized gangs and mobs waiting for fans to get out so they could mug these fans leaving the game. Hello? Where the hell's the security? Where the hell's the French police? Hello? This is the biggest European second biggest event in the world. For this sort of stuff to happen, leave it up to France to mess it all up. You guys have the floor.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, because as some people know, I am a former Miami Dolphin ticket representative for the past 5 years, and then I was with the Florida Panthers for 2 years. But I mean, the way that Daniel said it, especially, he perfectly planned that out exactly how it was. I mean, from the Liverpool fans jumping the gate, that's a liable thing that can go against the venue. You know what I mean? You don't want fans jumping the gate. You have to make sure that the turnstiles are all going well. Let alone, you might as well just be 2 hours before kickoff or the first whistle that you have to have the doors open. So in reality, the venue itself, I'm not too familiar with the name of it. However, the one in Paris, they have to be at least organized. Where hey, this is going to be a top event in Europe, just like how the Super Bowl was coming in 2020 in Miami, where in Hard Rock Stadium, which I was there working for, it was basically a parking lot, security, a whole nother piece of security. You check in the tickets, and then a mile away, you go into the stadium, right? It should have been organized like that instead of having people going to the turnstiles right there in front of the doors in a packed jam, no lines. All right, doing like a music festival out there for a Playboy Cardi concert. Now, and again, for the Liverpool fans, I remember, trying to watch this game on, one of my illegal websites. Not gonna say, but we're like, oh, you're seeing what's going on with Liverpool? And they're showing me video of people getting pepper sprayed, the fans all fire, and it's like, not only is it bad for the game of football, but it's also, it just gives a horrible look at UEFA entirely.
There was children getting guys. Children.
Exactly. It was a clip of some child, I believe, getting pepper spray of a Liverpool fan. But I mean, again, with UEFA, I looked over on Twitter and IG, and it's like, man, they're just bashing these people. Of UEFA's presidents and the representatives were like, oh, they don't care about the fans and they don't care. And in reality, I'm thinking to myself that it's a big money league, and UEFA obviously, the whole little like, oh, people are late to the game. I mean, feel realistic and tell us the truth.
Yep.
I mean, especially if you're telling me that after the game there was, you know, I'm not too positive because this is the first time I'm hearing about this, but like mobsters and all that stuff out there outside. I
Yep.
mean, it's definitely something more to it. To me personally, I think that it's, foul play. I hate to say it like that, but I think there's more to it.
It sounds like a setup, right?
It is a setup. That's what I feel like. It's a real
Yeah.
good conspiracy. It's a good conspiracy for Liverpool fans. But yeah, I mean, as a former person that worked in a venue like that, I mean, you got to make sure that stuff like that comes with years planned. And I felt like they probably had a training 2 weeks prior, so they were definitely not ready for that in Paris. And we all saw, excuse my language, but the shit show that foretold itself over there.
Yeah, and let me tell you before Janka goes, as you know, especially Brandon, you and I as commentators, we usually get all the information and we have talking points that we can base off. These commentators, it was Kate Abdo, Jamie Carragher, Thierry Henry, they were sitting there and they were saying it live on TV. They're like, we have no information. The only thing we have is that statement that UEFA just put on the screen. And
Right.
Thierry Henry comes out and says, this is absolutely ridiculous by UEFA. Like, they need to let us know, tell us the truth. What is happening outside?
Yeah.
Are people safe? Is there people, they were finding out through social media themselves. Like, we're seeing people getting tear gassed outside, and now suddenly this is not feeling like a friendly football atmosphere. This is feeling like a serious thing. So UEFA needs to come out and be, truthful and say what the hell is happening.
No, exactly. That basically journalism on the go. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Janka?
I was happy. I didn't get to see the game because I was working, but I was actually going. I was since LeBron was at the game, and you all know my feelings about LeBron. There's no way I can go for Liverpool, even though I like the team. It's I'm not going for them. So I ended up going for Madrid.
Nice.
We won and all that, but as for the fans and stuff like that, I didn't know about the gang stuff.
Yep. Yeah.
Now, I don't know how the stadium is set up or how they're parking and the way everything is over there in Europe, but I know for Hard Rock Stadium, there's there's 4 entrances on the corners, so it gives all the fans plenty of of entrances. Now, I have a question. Was where they were trying to enter the only entrance to the stadium, or were there
Here's
multiple entrances?
exactly. This is the thing. When the reports of all this started happening, the stadium closed all of the entrances except one, and in that one gate, they only opened one turnstile. So all these people were trying to jam themselves through one turnstile, and there was only one guy checking all the tickets at that one turnstile.
The only way I can see them justifying them doing that would have to be that there was a malfunction in the system which allowed in the other ones, which and they only let that happen. Or
Right now, it's like, yo, what?
hey,
I'm sorry, man, but as a former person that's been in those turnstiles, I can't even imagine the person's mind when all those Liverpool fans pulled up. That is insane. I would have walked out immediately. I would have walked out of work that day. There's no way.
Yeah, hey, enjoy the final.
Honestly, holy.
or
Yeah, man.
maybe that I guess they weren't prepared for like for everybody to come in all at once and have like a huge wave of people. I guess they wanted it to be organized, but then you can't really say that because they only allowed one one entrance. So I'm baffled. I was speechless.
The final result of all of this, Liverpool has formally requested an investigation by UEFA into what happened, and despite them losing the final or whatever, most tweets from Liverpool supporters or even Liverpool officials that have been former players big in the club or even still work for the club executives, their tweets were like, yeah, they sent out one tweet like, oh, congratulations, Real Madrid, but most of their tweets were like, we want to know what the hell happened for our fans that traveled from Liverpool to Paris to see this game and were put in danger. We want to know what happened, and the club has officially requested an investigation into this matter and this situation. But UEFA's got to do better, and this sort of situation cannot happen again in a magnitude of a final that this is for the European Cup.
Now I have a question.
Yeah.
Would I know that probably the answer is probably no, but do you think UEFA, to avoid this from happening, would ever make the final in the U.S.?
No.
You don't think they'd ever do that?
I mean, it's a European champion. I mean,
I know, but it's like
the only way I see that happening is if Europe is in an all-out war, and there needs to be a final in elsewhere in the United States. Mind you, this final in Paris was not supposed to be held in Paris. The final for this year's Champions League was supposed to be held in St. Petersburg, which is Russia, and because of the situation with there, UEFA stripped St. Petersburg and Russia the final, and it was held in Paris. So the only way I can see that happening is if there's some sort of conflict or there's some sort of war. I mean, we've seen this in previous standpoints where a Clásico with Real Madrid and Barcelona has only been played outside of Spain 2 times, one in South America and now in Miami in the United States, and that was as just a friendly. But I believe the Copa, the South American Cup, the Libertadores, was held. There was some sort of issue going on in the country politically, and there was riots and protests. They held the final in the Santiago Bernabeu in Madrid, Spain, miles away from where this is supposed to be. But that was because there was issues going on. So the only way I see that happening is some sort of situation like that arises.
So next year, let's say the same situation happens again, and the same thing with the one entrance, the gangs, everything. Let's say all that happens again. Then would you think they would consider it?
I guarantee you, this won't happen again next year.
no, yeah, it shouldn't. But for me personally, because I'm again, I'm more of a basketball guy than a guy for football. But me personally, I do feel like if it's not played in Wembley, then where the hell are you playing it? You know what I mean? If you're playing a European Championship, I mean, you should at least play it either in Spain or you should play it in England. Because obviously, best facilities, probably one of the best stadiums out there. I understand the whole St. Petersburg thing, but I mean, Wembley wasn't an option. You know what I mean? I mean, like the place for Barcelona and Real Madrid, and you also have like where hell, I mean, even in Liverpool, they even have a pretty good stand over there. I mean, you got so many options. I just felt like Paris took it just because they had to, and they weren't ready for it. But Wembley, I mean, hell, I mean, they did a Euro not too long ago.
They definitely weren't ready for it. In the pregame show, they were saying the grass that was in that stadium for the final wasn't laid down until Wednesday, and the final was Saturday. So they definitely weren't ready for it, and I agree with Brandon. I think they could have looked at other options that have hosted finals before. Um, but this is again, I look at France for this issue because previous finals for this sort of tournament never they've had it in Portugal, they had no problems. Spain, they've had no problems. In Germany, they've had no problems. England, who's hosted many times in Wembley, had no problems. So France gets it and messes it up, sort of say.
They blew it. Well, yeah, but the game itself was good though.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, especially the good effect, that was good for me. But that's gonna do it for this week's episode. We appreciate you guys tuning in. This is episode 51. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you guys next week for a brand new episode.